My 24 male father, 78, had fallen seriously ill a while back and had to be admitted to the hospital. The issue though is that my brother, 25, was against giving him treatment. When my girlfriend and I told him that he wasn't well, he refused to admit him there. He said that my dad was old and that unnecessary medicines would just cause him more suffering and prolong it, and that he deserved to pass away peacefully at home. I told him that was ridiculous and that I would get him treated. He flipped out at that and said that he should be the one deciding as he's older and that I have no idea what I'm talking about. I said I didn't care and that he couldn't stop me from getting my father medical treatment. He and his girlfriend protested, but I wouldn't budge. He asked me how I would pay the money as it would be really expensive. I told him I would use what I could, but that I would mortgage the house by asking my father to give me power of attorney if funds were low. He was conscious even though he was really unwell. Then my brother got really mad at that and said that I couldn't threaten to spend his inheritance or blackmail him and to mind my language. But I wouldn't back down and took Dad to the hospital. My brother didn't accompany me immediately but arrived at the hospital later to check on him, etc. He was also having a long conversation with my dad in private, with his girlfriend, and seemed to care a lot now. But he's not talking to me because he said I don't know how to respect him and that I was being really discourteous, etc. Am I the idiot for threatening my brother to mortgage the father's house? Edit, I didn't want to ask Dad whether I should just let him die because that would be a horrible thing to say. I wanted to treat him regardless of what he said in case he thought he'd be a burden and would have asked us to let him go away when the time had come. Not the idiot, his inheritance. My God, your brother is a huge idiot, not only because he's not entitled to anything your dad has, but the fact that your dad is not even dead and all he can think is how much money he's going to get is just despicable. I realize it might be an uncomfortable conversation, but you need to discuss this with your father and see what he would like to do regarding treatment. I disagree. OP, what an absolutely selfish and inconsiderate attitude. It's not a horrible thing to let people decide. I watched my father die last year. I was at his bedside for his last week. It was awful for me, my family, my mom, his friends and everyone, but we all knew he was dying and it hurt, but ultimately we let him pass on how he wanted to pass on. That's what it means to be a good son in that situation. Your wishes don't matter, only his does. It's a fact that we all die. Your father has a choice and almost certainly has an opinion of how he wants to die, and you're being a selfish, inconsiderate jerk by not talking to him. You are the idiot. Also, your brother is an idiot too. His inheritance. Bah! It's your father's house and it's like everything else he owns. So long as he lives, it's his to do what he wants with. It's not yours to mortgage. If he's competent enough to sign a power of attorney, he's also currently competent enough to make his own decisions. Everyone's the idiot, you and your brother. Neither of you seems to have made the effort to talk to him. It's his decision. Please work with the doctors and figure out what he wants and what is possible. I'm a 23-year-old female. In middle school, I was excluded and treated really harshly by my fellow classmates. I live in a predominantly Asian area and am Asian myself, but I was never seen as Asian enough by most of my peers because I was chubby and didn't do well in school, neurodivergent. They would constantly be passive-aggressive to me and act like a pest whenever I was trying to genuinely be nice. So I started resenting them and hanging out with the people who accepted me. Today, I changed a lot. I lost tons of weight after high school and I made friends with a photographer who helped me get a start-up with modeling. I'm not nearly as successful as Naomi Campbell, but I do high-fashion editorial modeling. I'm proud of my position and I'm aware that I'm very fortunate to be in the position I'm in. Yesterday night was my middle school reunion. I have a good group of friends I've known since middle school, so we all went together. When we arrived, I felt uncomfortable and only spoke to my group or the people who didn't treat me like crap. Whenever one of the people who used to act crappy towards me tried to speak to me, I just ignored them, continuing to talk and not looking at them at all. I didn't see an issue. They did the same thing to me, but apparently it irritated one of the dudes. This one posted my low test score to humiliate me in middle school. He approached me and tried to talk to me, but I ignored him. He told me I thought I was better than everyone else and that I was acting like a stuck-up prick. I replied that I am better than everyone else and that's why I have a more successful career. We then had some back and forth because I mentioned that he treated me like crap, so he shouldn't act entitled to my time or respect. At that point, my friends told me to let's leave. I personally feel like you dish out what you get. They all did the same crap to me in middle school. My friends were all on my side, but some felt I could have tried to be nice to keep the peace. Am I the idiot? Middle school reunion? Jesus Christ, why? I wouldn't go to my high school reunion if I were guaranteed money for going. My best friend has been my best friend since middle school, and I wouldn't go for her, but she'd never suggest I go. Everyone's the idiot here because it's a middle school reunion. No one cares. All of you need to grow up. Not at all. You should have seen me at my 40-year kindergarten reunion. It was one for the ages. Who eats glue now, Gary? Let's see you smear the finger paint on me again, Rachel. So, Larry, you still peeing in the sandbox? Good old times. So basically, to punish the children that acted like children, you, as an adult, acted like a rude child. Gotcha. Also, I am better than everyone else, in front of everyone else, including your friends. Bet they felt awesome. Yep, you are the idiot. Congrats, OP, you're now the bully. If you practice harder, you can turn it up for your high school reunion. Acting like this at a middle school reunion? Please. You could have handled this situation differently and showed some maturity on your level. I get that those people treated you like crap, but you aren't helping your case by doing the same thing they did to you. You know how you show a person up who's bullied you? Not stoop down to their level. None of us are the snot we used to be in middle school. Many years after I graduated, I discovered the kids who were the meanest had rotten home lives. They acted out at school because it was the only way to feel good about themselves. It's okay not to forget. Forgiving is actually for your benefit. I cleanse your heart of the anger you hold. My son lost his first wife when their 2 children were preschoolers. My grandson is now nearly adult and my granddaughter is in her mid-teens. Their relationship with my son has been on a downward spiral for years. It started when he and his current wife moved in together. She had 2 kids of her own, and early on they showed extreme jealousy whenever their mom would pay any attention or buy anything for my grandkids. They were older, teenagers, and said several cruel things to my grandkids. My grandkids told my son, they told my wife and me, and we spoke to our son, but he ignored all 4 of us. My wife also spoke to my son's second wife prior to the wedding, and she said her kids would adjust in time. My grandkids spent years living with 2 much older kids, who told them they deserved to have a dead mom and that she'd wanted to die because nobody would want them around. They accused them of stealing from them because their mom shouldn't be doing anything for them. There were incidents where they broke the stuff their mom bought my grandkids. My wife and I pleaded with our son to do something to help his kids. We said they didn't deserve to be raised like that. The problems continued even after the older kids moved out. They still expressed a lot of jealousy and hatred for my grandkids. I never interacted much with my son's stepkids. I saw them a handful of times in the year my son has been married to his current wife. They would mostly go to their dad if my son and his wife were spending time with us or any of our other kids, or they would reject offers to spend time with us. But the few times I did see them, I was always shocked by how blatant their hate of my grandkids was, and how my son never appeared to care. One incident in particular stands out. It was my granddaughter's birthday and she got some art kit she'd wanted. It set off the 2 older kids who called her a witch baby, and they even broke part of the kit. My wife and I spoke up to our son and his wife, but they did nothing and said nothing. My grandkids now spend a lot of time with me and my wife. They hardly speak to their dad despite living under his roof. They wanted us to get custody of them, but we were denied. So they've done their best to make it through the next year or 2 years. My son is only now starting to care that the relationship with his kids has been destroyed. He asked me why we tried to fight for custody of the kids when he was their dad, and he accused my wife and I of turning the kids against him. This is when I stopped him, and I said we didn't turn them against him. He's just living with the consequences of ignoring what his kids tell him. I told him he put them through years of bullying so he could marry and stay married, and now he has to live with his decision. My son ranted at me and said the last thing any parent should do is try to make their kid feel crappy about themselves, which is what I was doing. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Wow, the irony of your son suggesting that you are making him feel bad. What about how bad he's made his kids feel for years? The obliviousness of some people. Good luck helping those kids make it through the next year until both can move out. One question, did you take the time to tell your step-grandchildren off? If you haven't, I suggest you do that as soon as possible and in front of your grandchildren. I bet they would love to see that. He's had plenty of opportunities to ensure the relationship with his kids would be better. In addition to his kids and you telling him about things that happened, he's also witnessed things, like the example you're giving with the birthdays. You're not turning his kids against him, you're giving his kids a place to escape their home situation, and the only reason that's a necessity is because their dad didn't defend them against that. That's on him. Your son should have kicked his stepkids out of his house years ago. Why do people let some random kids mistreat their kids? Your son is dead wrong. You should make your kid feel crappy if they're being crappy. Those kids are going to go no contact the minute they can. I'm glad you've been there for your grandkids. It's getting to be the rainy season where I work. It will rain for the next 4 or 5 months. Daily. I was packing up my stuff to take to work and I was packing my boot dryer. My wife hoped I could leave it home since they needed it too. I was interested, so I asked why she needed it. She said that she does lunch supervision once a week and that our son shovels snow. I asked if this lunch supervision soaked her boots for 10 hours a day for weeks on end, and that the same question went for my son and his constant snow shoveling. She said no, and that I was making her feel stupid and useless by pointing out that I need the boot dryer to be comfortable at my job. I feel bad if I made her feel this way, but an adult should be able to understand that stuff without being told. You are the idiot. If your family would benefit from having one at home, but you need one at work, why don't you buy one for the house? Why isn't that the automatic response? I need this one for work, but let's price out a second one for home and put it in the budget. Why is it the default to talk to your partner like they're a moron? Because then OP would miss out on the opportunity to be condescending. You are the idiot for speaking to her like a dumb child. She asked you a simple question that required a simple answer. Not, does this lunch supervision soak your boots too? Huh? Do they? Well, do they? Buy your wife a boot dryer, dude. I was gonna say even the way he wrote her lines was like, so polite and reasonable. He didn't even gussy it up to lie and make her seem more silly or unreasonable. If anything, it sounds like she was sort of passively saying that they could use one for both places. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, she said in a knowing voice. The dummy just didn't take the hint and was kind of a jerk about it and is now getting dunked on online. Update, it turns out I'm definitely the idiot. As I stated, it takes weeks for deliveries here. There was a package waiting for me when I arrived at camp. My wife had purchased a new, very good new boot dryer for me and was trying to surprise me. She didn't want me to lug my old one up. I've already called her and apologized. Our nanny is expecting us to rehire her after she takes maternity leave. However, there was a misunderstanding because how she worded it each time led me to believe she was quitting. She would say things like she was going to have to take leave to take care of her baby, or she was planning not to work after having her baby, not take time off to take care of her baby, or take a break to take care of her baby. She ended up having a baby prematurely and told me she had to stop working earlier than she expected. Because of this, we were caught off guard for childcare as we'd expected a little more time to find a new nanny. In the end, we ended up putting our daughter in daycare. Our daughter liked it and we thought it worked well enough, but now the nanny has called about coming back. We were confused and said we thought she quit. She said that she just meant she was taking maternity leave, not that she quit. If she'd meant just a break from maternity, she would have clarified when she planned to return. The nanny says she was expecting to have a job there when she was ready to return to work and doesn't know what else to do because she doesn't have anything else lined up. Initially, when we hired her, we told her we would need a nanny until our daughter started grade school, which is still 2 years away. So she was expecting to have a job for another 2 years. However, we don't need a nanny anymore. Our daughter is doing very well in daycare and we feel like it's better for her because she gets to socialize more and she's made friends. Not the idiot. According to the language she used, she quit. If she really meant maternity leave, there would have been at least one discussion about how long she was planning to be off. She didn't do that because she quit. There's no other way to take the statement, she was planning not to work after having her baby, followed up by no discussion of maternity leave. I can't even say this is a miscommunication issue because usually when going on maternity leave, you know it's maternity leave, mainly because it should be discussed when you're returning. You don't just return whenever you want and say, so where's my job? She resigned and the story is now being changed. She realized that she needed to work to generate money to feed herself and her newborn child while also paying her debts. OP, you found a better fit for your child. Tell her you can give her a letter of recommendation and you wish her the best, but you found a better fit for your situation. It's good you put your child in daycare because it's reliable childcare. Also, does she plan to bring her baby while she nannies, or will she hire her own, smaller, less expensive nanny? So OP would be paying the nanny for substandard service while the nanny subsidized her childcare costs at OP's expense. Is your daughter happy in daycare? Keep her there. Do what's best for your daughter.